do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right, but I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who could move. Right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yards. You know, you get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown. Right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable. Right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But, you know, I do have hope for him. I think at season's end, he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low-end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people, the busters, and everybody else in between. The Twisted Tuesday has begun. Let's do this thing. Let's start off on a Major League Baseball diamond right now as the New York Yankees look to take a 2-0 series lead in the championship series in the American League. Yankees up 4-2 right now. We're going into the 7th inning. There's been a lot of runners in scoring position. There's been a lot of runners on base tonight, and we're at 6 runs right now. The total ended up closing at 7. It's currently 7.5 as we speak right now. The Yankees are minus 750 favorites on the money line. The Cleveland Guardians are plus 475 on the money line. Meanwhile, we've got 3 college football games going on right now, and you know, I don't have a problem if college football players want to get paid, but if you want to get paid, you also get criticized and or cut. Because I gotta tell you, it's hard to have like 3 games going on at once that are all as bad as all 3 of them are. You know what I mean? Like there's 3 games on. We knew that it was like, this is like a low tier subpar night of college football. Tonight didn't stop us from betting it, but we knew it was like, you know, this was bad stuff, man. You got 1-5 to 1-4 versus 1-5 or whatever. Like, everybody's bad. like Middle Tennessee State used to be good. They're not anymore. All right. Kennesaw, who the hell are Kennesaw State? It's 7-2. You got more runs in the Dodger Mets game than you do points in this football game. Middle Tennessee are winning 7-2. That's right. 7-2 is the score here right now. I laid the points with Middle Tennessee State. Laid the points. Like, I don't know if they're going to be able to score again. We're midway through the 3rd quarter of play right now. Although I should note, the Blue Raiders, what is it with teams named the Raiders sucking? But the Blue Raiders are moving the ball right now as we speak. Lo and behold, speaking of sucking, New Mexico State, these guys are terrible. All right, they were getting like 10 points, 11 points or whatever against Louisiana Tech. I only bet the over of the game, and of course, nothing has happened. We finally got our first touchdown of the game. New Mexico State are up 7-0 right now, midway through the 2nd quarter of play. We might jump in out of spite on this one. The total, and I was going to say it's 37.5. It just jumped to 39.5. I don't believe, like, I got, Louisiana Tech scored like 54 points last week. Like, this is the thing. When you're a bad football team, you don't know what you're going to get. Troy and South Alabama is just pure torture as well right now. It's 22-3 South Alabama there. So we got 3 really bad games going on. But for in-game betting purposes, even though I'm already about to lose on the over 54, or what was it, 49.5 with the Louisiana Tech, New Mexico State game, I still think this has to open up a little bit. New Mexico State's defense is terrible. Normally they can't really score, and they give up a ton of points. So the fact that they put a touchdown up, I think Louisiana Tech will break through. It's 38.5 right now. I think we could get there. So we'll keep our eye on this right now. We've got an NHL game starting. We've been doing very well in the NHL so far this year, except tonight. So I'm warning you right now. You can look at it one or two ways. You can say, well, you were so wrong. Now, listen, I gave 3 sides. We went 1-2, but we lost a bunch of first period overs earlier tonight. So we are down in the NHL tonight. The Panthers got it done for us. We lose with the Canucks. We lose with the Devils. Both underdogs, though. They were dogs. So the Philadelphia Flyers are dogs, but the Edmonton Oilers, they're the ones that have been playing like them. The Oilers have not been playing very good hockey. They're 0-3 to start the season. They're not going to hit the panic button in Edmonton, but they're getting a little bit frustrated, right? People pay big money for the tickets in Edmonton. They're a big-time team. They went to the Cup last year. Everybody, including myself, figured, this is the year. Now, them losing these early games has nothing to do with whether they're going to win the Stanley Cup or not. Let's just be real. But at the same point in time, they got to start winning. They got to win a hockey game. The Flyers have been on the road in Western Canada since last week, over the weekend, into the start of a new week. I don't often do this, right? I prefer hockey, if I'm getting a puck and a half than laying a puck and a half. But I do think this is a night for the Oilers to get it done. We're going to lay the Edmonton Oilers -1.5 plus 125. So we're getting some plus money on this, which I never have a problem with. So we're getting plus money on the Edmonton Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers. And I say this goes over 1.5. The Oilers win by over more than 1.5 goals. All right, so we're 1-1 Chicago and Calgary right now. Calgary, everybody thinks they suck. They've actually been winning. Chicago are 1-2. The Flames are -140 right now. I actually think the Flames will win. They're -140. Like, listen, it's a coin toss. You got a tie hockey game between 2 mediocre teams. But the Flames are hot right now to start the season. Same thing. The Blackhawks have been on the road to start the year here. For in-game betting purposes, I would say, you know what? I think the Flames are the play at -140. The Kraken and the Preds are tied at 3 right now with they're early in the third period of play. The Preds are -160. The Kraken are +130. And the Sharks and Devils are tied, actually. Some dogs have been barking and biting in the National Hockey League early in the season. The Stars are currently -225. The Sharks are +175. So we'll keep our eye on all this, including the baseball tonight. We've got more points, 25. So South Alabama just kicked a field goal, 25-3 over Troy. And Middle Tennessee State scores a touchdown. 13-2 right now. They made the extra point, so it's going to be should be 14. Should be 14-2 here in a second. The scoreboard hasn't reflected the change yet. 7-0 New Mexico State. So I'd like to hit. We're going to lose a bunch of totals tonight. I'd like to at least salvage the cover with Middle Tennessee, who ended up closing as 8.5-point favorites in this game. We laid the points with them. Baseball. We didn't play a side tonight in baseball. I kind of thought the Yankees would win a game like they're winning right now, to be honest. Figure Cleveland hang around, but the Yankees end up winning the game when it's all said and done. The Yankees are up 4-2 right now. We did play the under. We played the under 7, and we did jump in on an in-game under 8.5 as well in this baseball game. So I'm hoping it just stays the way that it is, and we'll get into tomorrow night's baseball game. They're rolling out they're going big at Citi Field. Forget about Grimace. They're bringing in Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden. Somebody be careful. They might try to snort the first baseline. So, just letting everyone know. letting everybody know. So listen, the Mets are going all out on this, and it's going to be a circus at Citi Field. Like, say, Met fans are seriously into it. I don't against the Phillies. I don't think they ever really sat down very much, did they? Like, for the most part, like, Met fans, like, in the outfield, everybody was standing for every pitch. Like, the Met fans are super passionate. They're not as popular as the Yankees in New York, but people that are Met fans are diehard Met fans, right? There's no half-assing it. So, a lot of Met fans are Jet fans as well, and the Jets suck. So, speaking of the Jets, they get Devontae Adams. Good for them. All right, whatever. They get Devontae Adams, 4th-round draft pick. Does it hurt them? No. But I don't really know, if you look at the big picture, they owe him a lot of money now. Like, the Raiders are super happy they got out of this contract, so the Jets are going to owe him a lot of money. I'm just thinking, what happens if Aaron Rodgers retires at the end of the year? Is Devontae Adams not going to want to play because his friend isn't the quarterback? Like, for a grown man, Devontae Adams, I mean, like, really? What do you care, like, so much with playing with your buddies for? Like, does he care about winning? Like, Devontae Adams, if you go to the New York Jets, you don't care about winning. Let's just call it out for what it is. Jets aren't winning. So you don't care about winning. He was willing to go to the Saints because Carr is there. Like, how about you just hang around with Carr in the offseason, bro? like, did you think, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the Saints? Like, if you didn't care about winning, why don't you just stay in Las Vegas? So, whatever, but the Buffalo Bills step up with a big-time deal. A lot of stuff to unpack.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the Pittsburgh Players, the Hustlers, the people of Boston, but everybody else in between. Let's do this in a Twisted Tuesday has begun. 14-2 Middle Tennessee State over Kennesaw State. 25-3 South Alabama over Troy. And, man, what did I just tell you guys about? I said, man, Louisiana Tech and New Mexico State, the total went down to 37.5 briefly. And I said, yeah, this is the game. It's still going to get there, even though there's not a lot happening. Like I said, these might be the three worst games that are on. Like, this might be the worst night of college football in the history of college football. Like, not one of the games are good. It's a bad look for the conference. It's just terrible stuff. I mean, we're 25-3, 14-2. Louisiana Tech and New Mexico State might end up being a good game tonight. But the in-game total right now is 41.5 in this game. And the Aggies get lit up like a spliff on the back of Snoop Dogg's tour bus, all right? Like, their defense is terrible. Louisiana Tech's offense is pretty good. They had a bad first quarter. They finally just scored. There's 5 minutes left in the first half. The in-game total is 41.5, but I still think this game is going to open up. It just moved to 40.5. I'm going to jump in here on the over. And if it comes down low enough, I think Louisiana Tech. New Mexico State will screw this up. I've watched, like, they're on midweek all the time, so we followed every one of their games. I talk a lot about their coach, and Tony Sanchez. He used to be the coach of UNLV. They were terrible. I don't want to call the guy out and stuff, but he doesn't win. He doesn't cover. He seems like he's always the coach of the worst team in the country type of thing. So I don't want to be mean to the guy, but, it's kind of bad. All right. So anyways, let's get to the hockey right now. We got Cam Stewart in the house. We haven't dropped the puck yet. Greg Frank in Master Control. He's a big Philadelphia Flyer fan, and his Flyers are in action tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers, the biggest disappointment to start the season in the National Hockey League so far, by far. Hell, the Colorado Avalanche aren't far behind, to be honest, and the Canucks aren't killing it either. But the Flyers and Oilers, Kev, what's your pick for this game? We haven't started yet. The Oilers are minus 185, and the total is 6.5. The Flyers are plus 150 underdogs.
I like the Flyers. I know it's kind of like you're waiting for Edmonton to bounce back, but I'm going to take Philadelphia plus 1.5 money line. And I have a parlay for you, Gabe, the plus 125. It's a shot parlay. Actually, if you look at Morgan Frost, he's had 7 shots his last 2 games for Philadelphia. And Ekholm of Edmonton, actually underrated. It's like these I talk about backup tight ends, these defenseman props. So that parlay is plus 125, 1.5. All they need is 2 shots each. Two or more, you win, and it's plus money. Frost and Ekholm, both defensemen. Frost for the Flyers, Ekholm for the Oilers. Over 1.5 shots, 2-man parlay. Let's rock.
I usually don't lay a puck and a half, but I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers minus 1.5 tonight. And I'm even going to lay the juice. So I'm going to hope to hit the plus 125, and I'll play the minus 185 on the Oilers. 2 separate bets. I think the Oilers get it done tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers, who have been on the west coast of Canada throughout the weekend, last week, into the new week here. Let's bring in Andrew McKinnis and see what he thinks about this game at Edmonton. What do you got, McKinnis, tonight? Oilers, Flyers, what's your pick? And I like Cam's shots on goal look there, but what do you like tonight?
Yeah, I'll pick up right where you left off there, guys. I'm going to go over 3.5 shots on goal for Zach Hyman, plus 135, the current odds. I got plus 140 earlier. I mean, this is a guy that everybody said was a tap-in merchant, right? He just tapped everything in, didn't work hard for any of his goals. He's still got a ton of shots, guys. Whether or not he scores or not, he gets a ton of shots.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Over 3.5, plus 135 right now. Minus a half goal first period, plus 135. I like that one quite a bit. And then last game, Battle of Alberta, it was a Sunday afternoon game. Over was 6.5, juiced minus 130. I didn't like that. I wanted to stay away. It had kind of a weird Sunday feeling. This is the game that goes crazy. This is the game that goes nuts. But I wanted to ask you guys, what's the problem with the Oilers right now? Offense or defense? Because to me, it's more so their defense that's a concern, not their offense. And I've actually had some debates with people about this.
I think it's complacency. It's not really, it's offense, defense, it's complacency. I think you see the same thing with the Vancouver Canucks. You'll notice there's a lot of teams that are supposed to be good or that were good last year in the playoffs that are struggling early this year. Yep. Right? And I think they think, like, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, let's just be real, right? They're at home. They think they're great. And we're so close. We're such a good team. And they think we're going to beat the Calgary Flames. We're up 4-1 after the first period, right? Take the pedal off the metal, end up losing. That same thing. They get the lead on the Flyers. The Flyers are a young team. Like, well, I thought it would help them go on the road a little bit, but it's funny. The Oilers did the same thing last year. They ended up getting a coach fired. Right? Mm-hmm. And then they bring in a new guy, and here they are. It's deja vu all over again from last year. I can't explain it, McKinnis. You figure, especially after last year, of them getting drilled as much as they did early in the season, that say, all right, guys, we're not effing around this year, right? No, 4-14 start here. Because last year, like I said, it was a train wreck, and they ended up getting a coach fired, McKinnon. Point blank.
Well, look at the Predators right now too.
Predators,
They were
exactly.
everybody. I didn't know one guy that didn't like the Predators coming into this season. And they're off to a slow start, giving up 5 goals
look at
tonight.
the Lightning.
I don't know if it's
everybody.
anymore.
The Lightning will take a step back, and they're not going to be. They look pretty scary to me
Don't
still.
forget.
The Lightning
Don't
are
forget
good.
who told you. I told
You
you.
know what? I'll give you credit too. And you know who else has been a real surprise?
I knew the Lightning wouldn't suck. I agreed with you. I was like, no, they're not just going to. John Cooper's like the best coach in the league, man. This guy's they're not going to suck.
No, we all like the Lightning, but I didn't see this. Like I saw Washington had a couple of good players, but McKinnon said, "Watch out for Washington. They're sneaky." Watch some of that Vegas game tonight. The Washington Capitals actually have some really nice players on their team, some sneaky moves. Like they're a little bit better than people think.
Plus, Vegas
like,
aren't that good, Cam, either. I thought the Caps would win tonight. I should have bet it. I did.
I had the Caps, yeah.
Guys, the Devils, which lost.
How many teams do you really care about home ice for? Because I've got a handful. Vegas is there. Carolina's there. New York, maybe. I don't even know.
I'd say almost none, to be honest.
That's what I mean. Like, honestly, there's only 2 teams I can really think about off the top of my head. And one I just won with earlier tonight is Carolina, and then Vegas, that play different styles at home. I think, guys, early in the season, I mean, it's kind of too late
Tampa
now.
Bay's good at home too, McKinnon. They play really good at home. Yeah. They play they're very solid, aggressive. Like I like.
Is there more value on the road teams?
Yes,
they have good. It's been split to start the year, right? Like it's just been split.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The Bronx Bombers are launching bombs right now. Aaron Judge finally breaks out of his doldrums. Although, you know what, Aaron Judge, he's been hitting the ball harder, and it's pretty scary if he's going to come alive, right? People get very critical. The modern sport fan is just like they're the biggest tool bags ever. Everybody complains. Everybody sucks, like, constantly about everybody all the time. Oh, Judge sucks. Oh, everybody sucks, whatever. In the playoffs, from the start of the playoffs to the World Series, there's going to be ups and downs. right? It's going to be hot. It's going to be cold. It's going to go up. It's going to be down. It's all about winning the series, and it's coming through with a big hit every now and then. So Judge skied one so freaking high today. I swear to God, I knew Buddy was going to drop it. When it was as high as it was, it's sort of like when you see those YouTube videos and stuff, like they drop a football out of a helicopter and you got to catch it. Like, it's hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're really good at it and you're a pro, like Ron Darling said, he goes, anytime you start drifting, man, you're done. And the ball was hit so high, it literally took 7 seconds or something. And it's windy, the ball goes up, it drops, there's the run there. Then he hit the sacrifice fly, then he gets the home run. So the game just has gone over the number. Yankees are going to the World Series, man. The Guardians are coming back and winning 4 of the next 5 games after this. They had no room for error, and they literally committed error in the first inning tonight. So 6-2 in the baseball game, close to being a wrap right now. NHL hockey, 2-2 Sharks Stars. Kraken up 5-3 on the Preds. Preds struggling. Blackhawks Flames tied at 1 still. And the Oilers and the Flyers have just gotten started. McKinnis, are you betting the baseball? Did you bet tonight's game? And are you betting the Dodgers and the Met game tomorrow?
I didn't. I took the Yankees yesterday. I've kind of just been dipping in and out, Gabe. Honestly, I've been kind of just picking my spots here and there. Haven't been too heavily invested in it. I've just been enjoying it as a fan, to be quite honest with you. So I can't give much betting info there with it. However, I will say I've been loving jumping in on some of these team totals when the team is kind of down early or it's been a low-scoring game, because it seems like some of these teams, like the Dodgers, they can explode at any moment. And I always talk about how deep their lineup is. I love getting plus money. If you're going to give me over 3.5 plus 125 or over 2.5 at even some points for these plus money, I'll jump in live. But can't really say I have a side right now.
I had the Dodgers plus 3.5 yesterday, and they're down 6-0. They cut the lead to 6-3, and I'm thinking, you know what? This is actually pretty good. I'm going to escape here by hitting this. And, of course, they gave up 1 meaningless run late and ended up losing by 4. They ended up losing 7-3. Louisiana Tech have just scored a touchdown, so we jumped in on the in-game over here. I'm telling you, man, I think we might have a puncher's chance of the original over here still, too. There's a $1.24 left in the first half. We'll see if New Mexico State can respond, as there's been 3, nothing happened. There were 0 points in the first quarter of this game, guys, La Tech and New Mexico State. There's been 20 points scored in the second quarter. So, I wouldn't be surprised. New Mexico State can pop one here, even give us a field goal. We're really going to be back on track here to potentially get there with the total. All right, so wild day today in the National Football League with all these trades. Devontae Adams gets dealt, and they've already announced that he will play on Sunday night. The New York Jets, coming off their loss last night, are 1.5-point road favorites over the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. The total is 38, and this is pretty crazy, guys, that the Jets, why would a 2-4 team be a favorite against a 4-2 team on the road, and the Steelers are actually pretty good? And it's because of the news that I don't know what the hell Mike Tomlin is thinking and doing here, but word is it's looking like it's going to be Russell Wilson that starts at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cam, in this game. So Devontae Adams gets to the Jets, and it's not official yet, but if they're giving Russell Wilson reps with the number one offense, the sign, it's pretty clear. The writing's on the wall, all right? The signs have there's signs in the crowd right now at Justin Fields. And Fields isn't perfect, but I think this is a big mistake by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like the Steelers if Justin Fields played. If Russell Wilson plays, I don't want any part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't even want any part of the Jets either, to be honest.
This game's got dangerous written all over it on both sides. Aaron Rodgers might not finish this game with that Pittsburgh defense, the way he's been lingering.
No, and then Tyrod Taylor will come in and it'll be better.
Yeah, Jets. The Tyrod play.
Terrell thought I was on crack when I told him that today. I said they'd be better with Tyrod Taylor.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust, everybody else in between. Sirius XM Channel 159. Tommy Lorenzo will step up and in level 2. We got Rick Saratella, Andrew McKinnis right now in the house. Cam Stewart. We're keeping an eye on the NHL ice right now. I told you guys I thought the Flames would be the play at minus 140 in a tie game. Flames did just take the lead 2-1. Meanwhile, the Flyers, though, have scored first. Mishkov scores his first goal. 1-0 Philadelphia. Now the Oilers are minus 105, so you get a much better number with the Oilers now. In-game total is currently 6.5. The Kraken are starting to pull away from the Predators. 6-3 Kraken. And S.J. Sharkey is taking the Dallas Stars to overtime right now. The Sharks are plus 120 going to OT. Stars minus 150. Judge has hit a home run. And it's 6-2 right now for the New York Yankees. 2-run shot. It was 4-2. 6-2 right now. In-game total is 8.5. Yankees are 50-1 on the money line. The Guardians 33-1 to come back right now as we're in the top of the 8th inning. All right, so we're talking about the football. Yeah, so the Jets get Devontae Adams. He's going to play. And I don't, Justin Fields isn't perfect. But the one thing that Fields, the thing that Fields does that upsets the Steelers so much, and anybody who watches their games, they brought it up against the Raiders and at the halftime show, whatever, the people want to, pick on Fields, is he doesn't see open receivers early, right? Like the way that the play is supposed to be, right? Him dropping back, waiting a second, reading it, throwing someone open, boom, boom, crisp. We talked about it like when he got knocked out of the game and Kyle Allen came in and threw a bullet to Freiermuth down the field. And it's like, okay, that's what they're thinking, right? That he doesn't see players open down the field and that they could score more. But I'll tell you who does that, Russell Wilson. Except he's older and less mobile. Like, that's what's pissed, like, coaches off, like, for years. That's what upset Pete Carroll and the Seahawks at the end. They were like, dude, you're not as fast as you used to be. You're always looking for the big play. You don't get rid of the ball quick enough, and then you end up taking a sack. And Justin Fields is very athletic, and he's big. He's hard to bring down. He's fast. And he makes enough throws to get you to a 4-2 record right now. And say what you will about the Jets being a disastrous train wreck, they have a very good defense. And Russell Wilson, when's the last time Russell Wilson's on a football field? He got benched last year at the end, right, with Denver. So guy hasn't played in like over a year, like calendar time, more than whatever. And now you're going to drop him on the field on a Sunday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep. It goes to show they really don't like Justin Fields, right? And this is why when people thought, oh, the Chicago Bears, they should keep Justin Fields and stuff, NFL coaches just don't find it acceptable that he doesn't see and he doesn't read the play, which I totally get. I think the Bears made the right choice in going with Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. I don't think it was a debate. It was way more upside with Caleb. But Justin Fields is better than Russell Wilson is right now. Just point blank.
Also, Gabe,
I don't care like if Russell Wilson won Super Bowl before and he was great before, and he was. He's not anymore. Justin Fields is better than Russell Wilson is.
To solidify your point, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only thing you don't want to do is take crazy sacks and lose the field position battle because they usually win it with their defense. So when you're running there and running backwards and doing all those other things, that's the one thing. It doesn't even matter. If you don't make a mistake, they're going to win more games than they lose because they're always set up. And even a guy that's not too great. I'm going to tell you, Gabe, too, Fields ran for first downs and stuff like that, too. I agree with you. He doesn't see the field as well, but this could be an absolute train wreck. We'll see what happens. Russell Wilson's rusty as hell, and that's a defense you don't want to play in your first game back. That's for sure.
What do you think of the game, McKenna? Sunday Night Football. And it's not official yet, but I think it is going to be Russell Wilson.
Wow. Well, I think the Jets should have won their last two games. I think this is an example of the records versus who these teams should be. And I know sometimes you base your handicap based on two different things, what your eyes have seen and what you expect out of two different teams. But, I mean, if it weren't for some pass interference calls, an interception, a guy falling, two missed field goals, I mean, you can write a whole book about the stuff that's happened to the Jets over the last 2 weeks. I'm not really trying to be Monday morning quarterback. But
not the last 2 weeks, the last 50 years. Like, that's just kind of who they are.
Well, 50 years.
No, I'm being real.
They've been horrible the last 50 years. No, well,
yeah,
I mean, Gabe, you can't tell me that you watched that game as a Bills fan last night saying that was a smooth win. We 100% earned that. Like, both teams probably didn't deserve a win in that game. Neither team deserved to win. But I'm saying that I think this is a team in the Steelers that have a good record. But I'm not saying they're going to come in here and just get the job done because of who they are and their defense that they have. I think the one thing that will help this Jets team is their balanced attack. They've got the run. If they can get Breece Hall over 13.5, 14.5 rushing attempts each game, then it opens things up for the passing attack. And with all the weapons they have right now, guys, that will cause problems for the Steelers. The Steelers feast on teams that don't have a balanced attack. And I think we can all agree that at least one thing the Jets have is kind of a good balance.
Yes and no. On paper they do, but they don't score a lot of points. They don't finish it off. I do agree. The Steelers are challenged. Like, the Steelers would be challenged against, like, the Chiefs or something, like a team that can score. Or, the Ravens or whatnot. They match up. They're a lot like Michigan this year. It's like, all right, if the other team doesn't have a great offense, we're going to be in this thing. And we'll just not make any mistakes. We have a better defense. We'll grind it out, and we'll come up with the win. And that's what they've been doing so far this year. And I kind of see this game. Technically, you're right. The Jets did a lot of good things, but they do bad things. And they also got Aaron Rodgers murdered last night. And the Pittsburgh Steelers pass rush is better than the Buffalo Bills is. Like, TJ Watt's a one-man wrecking crew. So Aaron Rodgers better get rid of the ball quickly. Otherwise, Devontae Adams is going to be crying to go to New Orleans to play with his buddy because Rodgers is going to be out.
That's great.
Gabe, how crazy am I for saying that it feels like it's the whole Vernon Adams Jr. and Nate Rourke situation over there in Pittsburgh? You got a guy that was already playing well, and then a guy that's coming in ready to go says, "Hey, that's my job, man. I'll take that from you, no problem." It feels like there's no reason. Like, Nathan Rourke shouldn't have taken VA's job.
And also, like you said,
football leagues right now,
it's almost like in both instances they've made their mind up, right? Because Coach Campbell in BC said at the time when Nate Rourke came in, "Oh well, there's this Vernon's going to play, and whoever gives us the best chance to win it. We have two good quarterbacks now." It's like, all right, bro, you're 2-5 with Nate Rourke. Like, you just played yourself out of a home playoff game. Like, at what point are you going to say, well, let's give Vernon Adams a shot? You clearly don't want to. Like, you made your mind.
You waited till this week. They waited till this week to do it. Crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? It's better late than never, because whatever. He'll look good this week and he'll start the playoff game. And then he'll say at the end of the year, I want out because you threw me under the bus.
I hope so.
I mean,
you're right, guys. And his body of work is much better.
And he'll get out, too. Because it's not like the NFL, Cam, where they'll go, what do you want to do? It's the CFL, bro. They owe him $700,000 a year. They're not going to want to pay him. They're going to be like, yeah, please go to Calgary. Like, they don't have the money. Like, he'll tell them, I'm leaving. You got to pay me. Or you pay me to be a backup.
It's so true. It's so true. But
he's going to
both
Calgary,
your guys' points is, and he got a raw deal. We were at the game. Like, he was Rourke came in and he was not ready to go. And you thought with the NFL
thing is, he lost his job to injury too.
Yes,
he got hurt. Right, they were like 5-1 or whatever. He gets hurt. They lose the 2 games, and then they panicked. Oh, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. We want to lose.
Right.
It's like, all right, just sign another sort of good. You know what I mean? Yeah. The other thing is too, they lied. Just quickly about that. We'll get back to the NFL, but they also lied. Like last year when Rourke, whatever, it was always a talk, and the GM made a big deal about we want guys that want to be here. We don't want guys that are going to be, trying to go to the NFL all the time. And Vernon's a great quarterback, and he wants to be a BC Lion, and he's part of the community. And, even if Rourke comes back, we're not going to sign him. Then boom, Rourke comes back, they throw and that's the type of stuff that upsets guys in the room, bro. Like Vernon Adams has look at your boy McInnes.
Yeah.
Ever since Rourke showed up, his numbers have just died. You know what I mean? So there's guys that are like, hey, we're not as good.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, the pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Andrew McKinnis talking crazy talk during the commercial break somehow. Just told me that the Canadians' rivals are the Ottawa Senators.
Geographically.
Yeah.
It's down the street. A couple hours.
So, hey, what's the
worst take on this network since Cat being better than Dirk Nowitzki?
Oh, that one takes the cake. Sorry. We can talk about this one, Gabe. Come on.
Hey, I'll give you this: the Montreal Alouettes. The Alouettes. What stage during breaks is private?
It's like Fight Club, man. You can't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah,
Come
you
on
can't
now.
talk about McGinnis's takes off the air on the air.
I was too taken aback from him. I didn't like he called me an old man. He was made for old people like you. It's the Boston Bruins. I'm like, I said, the Bruins are the Canadians' rival. It's not the Ottawa Senators.
I think he said old
I'll tell you what,
school,
the Montreal
nice.
Alouettes, that's supposed to be the rival. They want that little rivalry to start there. Dude, the Ottawa Senator fans, half of them are Canadian fans. And then they became Senator fans after. And ask any Senator
why I said
fan.
that.
Ask any Senator fan. They hate the Leafs. They hate Cam's Leafs. Cam's big city, arrogant Leafs.
Yeah, that's me.
Dude, I'm on social media every day.
I'm the opposite
I'm a
of Leafs.
diehard
I like all
fan.
loser teams. I shouldn't even be fans of these losers. I should be going on for another team. I like that. I like losers. Actually, I do. The Leafs fit the category, but rich losers.
Well, you know, Cam, I saw that Craig Berube said he wants star players playing every day like it's Game 7. That's why Matthews doesn't have a goal yet. They're playing like it's Game 7 every game, and he's off to a tough start, man.
I don't know about that strategy. It's one of those things. It's like you don't want to bury these guys before it even started. Like they're already fragile. Like it's a very dangerous.
You know what though?
Guys.
He's toughening them up. You're right. I wouldn't want to run him into the ground. To you know what I mean? It's a quick turnaround, but I like what Austin Matthews doing. I've never seen him finish checks before and stuff like that, which he's been doing. He flies behind the net. He's hitting people like at the back end. Like, you know what? I think he's trying to play like a captain. I think, he understands. Like, you can't just score goals. You're going to be a captain. You sort of have to. I got to block a shot. I got to do a little bit of some dirty things. You know.
Great call by you, but I'll say this too. For the last few years, if people aren't paying attention, his defensive game has been awesome. Like, it's actually good. He's up for like the Selkie. It's like
he's been much better. He's greatly improved. Yes.
Yes. So we'll give him that.
Finish it off in the playoffs, but that's another story. All right. So, anyways,
cut his mic.
on a lighter note, the Chicago Blackhawks. There's a best of X for everybody here. The Chicago Blackhawks have a new invention they're selling. It's pretty cool. That means play the music. Thank you. Thank you very much. The Blackhawks are serving 24-ounce hockey sticks of beer.
I love it. And you can take the stick home after the beer. That's great. That's fantastic, by the way. That is great work, Blackhawks.
You're telling me, though, that nobody's going to, like, start hitting each other with these things, like, during the game?
Point. Yeah, it's a good point. Couple drunk fans. Next thing you know, you're walking out, you get a stick in the back of that. Hey, jerk.
I wouldn't sell this at Flyer games. I'd be like, whose idea was it to give 18,000 Flyer fans hockey sticks, even if they're plastic?
Good call, Dave. Like that.
If you're a real beer drinker,
you're
you want a beer.
Trouble. Yeah.
If you're a real beer
How
drinker,
do you drink that?
You just want a beer.
Sort of like,
if I went to a game with my old man and I came back and gave him that hockey stick, he would probably punch me in the head and say, "Go back and get a new beer for me." He's like, "I'm not drinking out of that thing."
I think he'd appreciate the novelty.
I would too. And the thing is, it looks like the red part, the blade can be removed from the tube, can it not? So you could just like gunner and not take up too much space.
You can take it home and clean it. You can use it again.
Yeah,
you can put it clean.
I like it. It's a great trick. You bring people over, you just drink from your stick. It's fantastic. Come on.
Yeah, I prefer what the Utah Hockey Club are doing. $3 everything.
Well.
That's not bad.
They're pulling the Atlanta Falcons. Good value.
Yeah, but it's not $3 beer though.
No. Sandwiches, pizza, stuff like that.
Although it is Utah. Like, they got to give them something. So, but you know what's funny though? The first hockey game, the Utah Hockey Club, they broke the record for the arena for beer sales. Utah, the exact number.
Jazz games, Gabe. Of course, the hockey fans are going to drink.
Apparently,
that's the only people in Utah who drink.
No, but the arena's been open since like 1991. Since 1991.
Sections.
Every concert. Yeah, no, exactly, McKinnis. Yeah. Except, and you got to be careful with this. I've nearly, I did this once. I once accidentally bought tickets in an alcohol-free zone in a stadium. I didn't realize. Yeah, I moved.
Yeah. See ya.
So I saw some empty seats. I was like, I'm just going to go back a couple rows. You got to keep it on. But you're right, McKiss. Like a lot of stadiums, like the Canucks have that. It's like 2 rows only. There's like a couple of spots or an alcohol-free section or whatever.
Just to clarify,
Morency,
so you're telling me at the Utah game per capita, like more than a Jazz playoff game or concerts or whatever, this hockey game per whatever? Like what do you mean? So they sold the most out
so
of
how about
any
this?
event?
In one day, hockey fans that went to the Utah hockey game drank more beer in one night than any of the 1,300 Utah Jazz games, and more than any concert that was ever in the arena before.
Really?
They sold $120,000 worth of beer.
Wow.
Which isn't even that much.
That's nothing. I was thinking about that. Going, you can do better. 120,000 is not even that much beer. Beers are like
I've seen
that's $20 a beer, Cam, in Toronto. That's like 500 beers. Like, you know what I mean? 5,000 beers. So it's 5,000 out of an arena. You saw like, oh wow, Utah got wild. Dude, that's like a first period, like in Montreal. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, we sold them. They get mad. We only sold 120,000 in the first period. That's it. Really?
Right.
What's going on?
Bust out the Laurentide.
But McKiss is right. They have like alcohol sections. So there's only a couple of spots. So, you don't want to be sitting next to a family of Mormons spilling beer on them. Like, they're not going to be happy with that.
I would do
Well, Gabe, you know how you said that
out.
you bought the wrong tickets that time? So people were saying that they were going to these certain sections and they had to chug their beer before they could go back to their seats. They were getting wasted, so they had to finish it before they could leave.
What kind of place is this? Like, I'm not going there.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Somebody better check in on that. What's the Oilers broadcaster's name, that guy? The Oilers are going to the cup!
Yes, the pleasure was all ours.
He's like, everything is, welcome back to the first intermission. Like this guy,
reports
like, dude, you got to chill out. You're enthusiastic, but you're a little too enthusiastic, bro. You got to just dial it back a little bit. Like, He must be, these guys, him and Louis DeBrusque are having a heart attack right now. I'm having a heart attack. Louis DeBrusque.
Louis DeBrusque are having a heart attack right now. It's true.
Louis DeBrusque is the color commentary. He's the analyst for the Oilers. I don't know the play-by-play guy's name. You know the loud guy.
George Michaels. Michaels. Is it George? Is it Michaels?
No, I don't think it's George Michael. I would remember George
the guy
Michael.
in Hockey Night in Canada, Hunter Ryan Singh. He's good. He's really growing on me. I like his energy. Hunter Ryan Singh from Sportsnet. You know him?
Yeah, he's the Punjabi guy. He's good. Yeah, you know what? I find he's a big homer though. Where's he from? Is he from Calgary? I don't know. It's one of the teams. Seems he's a big Oiler guy. I don't know.
Jack
He might be an Oiler guy.
That was close. Not George. Jack Michaels.
Jack, good call. Jack Michael, good call. Good call. No, that guy's good though. I don't have a problem with him. He's good. I like he's good. I don't really know who the other guys are. Who do they even have? Like I watch the games a little volume down often, or especially Saturday night. Look, during the week, I watch hockey, but during the Canucks are kind of the only team I see with audio, kind of. You know what I mean? Who's the guy's really, really good? John Shorten in Shorthouse is really, really good. Yeah. But and you got Ray Ferraro too. So, and then on Saturday nights, I don't really watch. I'm not dialed in to the NHL on Saturday nights. I'm more dialed into the NHL during the week because Saturday nights, it's Ohio State, Oregon, or Georgia, Texas, or whatever. You know. All right. So speaking of which, kids, anything in the NFL you like this week? We got Thursday night, Spencer Rattler against Sean Payton in the Sean Payton Bowl. It's going to be annoying. 4 hours of Sean Payton talk. You got that game. And then you got CFL football. Although the CFL, we're kind of at the point now where it's kind of strange. None of the games mean anything. Is anybody playing for anything right now? For the next 2 weeks? I don't think so. BC's locked into third place. Saskatchewan's locked into second place. Winnipeg's won a division. The Montreal Alouettes won a division. And I think Ottawa just screwed it up, and Toronto, has home field. Maybe it's Toronto and Ottawa still playing for home field. But the CFL right now is kind of tricky for the next couple of weeks, McKinnis, just because of and it's not an automatic, it'll go over. We thought last week, guys, right? Remember Calgary and Edmonton? It's a meaningless game. They'll just entertain. It went under. The Alouettes in Ottawa just played a meaningless game. It went under. So, it seems to me, except BC this week, as you talked about, with Vernon Adams, and BC kind of needs a spark going into the playoffs. The Alouettes don't care about this game. Alouettes have been starting backups for a couple of weeks already. What are your thoughts on the CFL, McKinnis, this week on the way out here?
Yeah, Gabe, I like what you said there at the Lions. I mean, they're a team I'm looking for, especially being at home, hosting the Alouettes. The Alouettes are confident with kind of who they are. They had that big win with Davis Alexander under quarterback to back up over Ottawa. They're set. They're ready to go for the postseason. Give me the home team there, the BC Lions, to get the job done. And then I say we'll rock with the over in the Stamps and Ticats game. I love taking two bottom-feeding teams that just trade points. They got not a care in the world. The defense effort's probably going to be minimal, and these teams are going to be airing the ball out a lot. So I think over is probably a good move in that one, 51 being the total. And then real quick, Gabe, we're going to start things off in the NFL. Drake May props. Give me the over on those, whether it's completions, whether it's over on yards. They're going to be low because the Patriots are awful. But if you don't want to bet the Patriots point spread, you want to just take Drake May props. There's going to be a lot of games where he hits his his passing yard prop and they get blown out by double digits. Better off taking that one. I really like the getting the points on Tennessee, plus 8.5 over the Bills. They've only been outscored by 13 points this year. And you look at their record, that's kind of shocking. They probably should have been outscored by a lot more. They've been able to keep things close. They're probably going to lose to the Bills, but I think they can battle and keep things tight. And you know what, guys? I'm going to buy into it. I know, like what Cam said about the Oilers, you don't want to chase a team, but give me the Jets. I think they got the talent. This is a good spot. Talk about the quarterback situation with Pittsburgh. I'm dying on the hill. Go Jets, go.
Go Jets, go. Gang Green, says Andrew McKinnis, wagertalk.com. Great stuff, McKinnis. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us. I was trying to come up with some sort of Ottawa Montreal crack on the way out about the Senators, but I couldn't come up with something. I choked.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Later, McKinnis.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. Thanks to Andrew McKinnis for kicking it with us on the program. Tommy Lorenzo on the radar with us in a couple of minutes. Major League Baseball, 6-3 Yankees right now, 6-3. So we get squeezed with our in-game total, bet 2, under 8.5. 6-3 right now. We're in the top of the ninth inning. Yankees are 2 outs away from taking a 2-0 series lead. And the Yankees, it's a real fluid World Series market. The Dodgers were favorites the other night. The Dodgers went to like plus 105 after they were up 1 game to nothing. Now the Yankees are nearly secure and going to the World Series. Suddenly the Yankees are plus 105 favorites to win the World Series. The Dodgers are plus 187 right now. The Mets are plus 400. I'm surprised the odds makers aren't giving more respect to the Mets, considering the series is tied at 1. And you got Walker Buehler going tomorrow. Cleveland Guardians are now 16-1, Cam. If you think the Guardians are going to get back into this, they do have 3 consecutive games at home, right? But they need to win 4 of the next 5 games after this. They had no room for error, the Guardians. The Yankees are dominant against this division. They're showing it once again. And, Cleveland needed to win 1 of these 2 games in New York to have a chance to win this series. They're done right now. Like, they might win a game. Maybe they win 2, but they could get swept at this point.
He gets taken out of the game early. They had a huge at-bat with Fry to try to mix things up. The first swing, he pops up, and that was it. They had opportunities in both games, Gabe. And I got to tell you, Clay Holmes has really shored up that Yankees bullpen. They've been fantastic. He hasn't given up a run in eons. So, yeah, New York looks really good. And Judge isn't even at his best. He had a nice little game today, but he hasn't even been like, the Aaron Judge we know. That's bad news for Cleveland, but they are a very good home team. We'll see if they, they basically, I don't know what they're going to do. The Yankees are just a better team.
The Yankees are going to the World Series. The question is, will it be the iconic Dodgers versus Yankees that we haven't had since 1981, or will we have a Subway Series, right? And all New York Subway Series that, of course, turned out to be quite a memorable one as well when Roger Clemens threw the ball and a bat at Mike Piazza. All right, we got Tommy Lorenzo ready to step up and in. Just looking at the college football right now. Real classic. Tommy, good to see you. Thanks for joining us on the program. And I tweeted this out earlier, and I stand by it. It's my hot take of the night. These 3 college football games tonight might be the worst 3 games in the history of college football that we're all on at the same time, bro. Like, if you click from 1 to 1, you're like, God, this is like,
awful.
Oh my God, this is bad. Then the next one, it's like, oh, this is terrible. Like, the best one, it's bad when the game of the night is La Tech and New Mexico State. Like, this is the best played game so far.
Yeah, I mean, and that those games got a bigger handle than the Yankee Guardians game. You just know that, even though they're
because the losers like me. I'm
in that boat. I think Yankees outscored Kennesaw State. I think, or about to. Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The Dodgers and Mets was 7-3. It was 7-2 all night in this game. I'm like, dude, it's like, this is what we're doing here. And I'm such a loser. I laid the points with Middle Tennessee State, so I'm trying to hang on. And let's give credit to the odds makers here, guys. How about that, Tommy? It was 9.5, and it went down to 8.5, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, who the hell likes Kennesaw State here? And here we go right now. We got a 9-point game. It's right on the freaking number.
Yeah, right there. I mean, Middle Tennessee State is not a very good team. But when they're playing a team like Kennesaw State, I mean, you have to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find a team that's worse than Middle Tennessee State. And tonight they got it in Kennesaw. But, just bad football. Kennesaw State, they had a quarterback change, and I thought that maybe would make a difference, but not happening.
Let's switch over to the Dodgers and the Mets here right now. Because I just said I'm a little bit surprised. The Mets aren't getting a lot of love still, even though the series is tied at 1. Right? I mean, the Dodgers are still like minus 155, minus 160 to win the series. They were minus 190 before the series. And they're sending Buehler to the hill tomorrow. And we know it's going to be a madhouse at Citi Field. It's going to be lit. They're bringing out Strawberry and Gooden to throw the first pitch and all that. What do you think about the Dodgers-Mets series right now and the direction it's going in?
Well, the Mets aren't going to lay down for the Dodgers, that's for sure. The Yankees, with all due respect to the 2 teams they've played in the playoffs, pretty easy road, I think. But it's going to be a battle against the Mets. The Mets have some talent. It's a tough place to play. That environment at Citi Field is going to be very tough. As far as tomorrow's game goes, I think it's going to be low scoring, at least for the beginning. Severino pitches great at Citi Field. I think Buehler's going to keep the ball down. He's not going to want to give up home runs. He knows that they got guys that can hit it out of the park. So I think he's going to be very focused on keeping the ball down. And, there's some 4.5s out there for first 5. I'm looking at that. There's 7.5s, 8s for total for the game. 7.5, maybe not. But if there's some 8s out there, I might dip into that as well. But, as Dodger fans, as you are too, you don't need to put a dime on these games to get the blood flowing. This is playoff time and World Series at stake. So
no, and I do anyways. And it makes it's such a gut punch. Like on Sunday, it was so great, right? We won the props. It was like, man, this is a fun series. We're going to kill these guys. And then after I lost game 2 yesterday, I was like, man, I shouldn't have went so big on them in this game too, right? I sort of had the regrets after. But I like your contrarian style here in style camp because a lot of people don't trust Walker Buehler right now, right? And think, oh, he gets lit up. But as we talked about it a lot, as anybody that saw against San Diego, and you saw it, Tommy, you could not have had worse luck. There was literally like 6 balls in the infield that led to hits and squibs and right down the line. Horrible baseball luck that he gives up the home run. But really, Kev, if you look at the Dodgers, they've been beat up. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, but the last 2 games they've lost. It's because of one bad inning. They gave up 6 to San Diego in 1 inning, and they got lit up for the grand slam against Lindor. I'm sort of with Tommy here. I'm a glass half full guy for Buehler. I think he's going to go out there and give the Dodgers 3-4 innings and pitch well. Like Tommy said, keep the ball down. Ball won't travel as well on the East Coast right now either with the weather. So, I like his style. Very contrarian because people are going to think it's going to be, there's going to be a ton of runs tomorrow.
I'm with you guys. Yeah, and I think Buehler's going to pitch well. I think he's going to do well. Oh, sorry, Tommy. I was just saying, I think he's going to pitch really, really well. I think the extra rest is good for him. And know what, Gabe? We talk about, and Ohtani, he's going to step up for the Dodgers, too. It's one of these things, I know the Mets are a very dangerous team at home, but I think the Dodgers, they understand, man. This is a huge, it's game 3. It's pivotal. If Dodgers win this game, they're in great shape. They lose, things get very, very real.
Well, I expect them, Tommy and Kim. I expect them, Tommy, to be the hungrier team. right this time. The Mets were the hungrier team in game 2. We see this in on the playoffs, basketball, hockey, etc. The zigzag, the hunger thing is real. And as Cam just said, and what do you think of this, Tommy? Like, it's strange with Ohtani, isn't it? He's literally like 0 for 20, 0 for what, 22 now, 21? In his last 21, 22 at-bats when nobody's on base. When people are on base, he's like 6 for 9. So, like, he comes through when people are on base, but sort of like Lindor set the pace early with the leadoff shot for the Mets yesterday. I think it's imperative that Ohtani and/or Betts early, like Betts did against San Diego. We're seeing these baseball playoffs. The early runs count, man. You figure like they wouldn't matter as much as they do, but we see Soto hitting the shot yesterday, gets the dugout going, get that early run. I'm counting on Ohtani to come through tomorrow night, actually, on the road.
Yeah, momentum is big in the playoffs. And again, Severino has been excellent at Citi Field. So the Dodgers really got to, get out there and jump. And I'm not talking about having big innings, just, having productive at-bats, making them work, scoring a run or two, and getting that momentum, like you said. Because once they get that going, and that could be the Mets too. Once they get that going, those teams in the playoffs anyway, it's a snowball effect in a positive way. They really get going. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
And then, of course, the Dodgers still have Yamamoto to roll out too. It's going to be a fun 3 days at Citi Field. There's going to be a ton of drama. And on the plus side, the referees that ruined Monday Night Football last night won't be the umpires in New York.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
$14-5 still in this football game. That's right, 14-5. And it's for Middle Tennessee right now. It's about 3 minutes left in the game, and it's 14-10. We told you guys we like the in-game over 38.5, 37.5. And I said, you know what? I think he's got a puncher's chance, actually, to open up and get to the original number, as crazy as it sounds. So we bet the over 40.5. That's the number we got, and we're in on over 49. But I'll tell you what, man, the Aggies are on the move right now. New Mexico State haven't stopped anybody, and I was talking about it a lot, Tommy. I don't like picking on coaches and stuff like that. He's a nice guy, but Tony Sanchez is always on the wrong end. If you want to pick on a coach, right? It was a train wreck at UNLV. It's a train wreck here. And they give up a boatload of points normally. And I was surprised the total was as light as it was. And then whatever, it was a scoreless first quarter. But they put up 20 points. They put up all the points late in the second quarter. They ended up putting 24 points up. And boom, they just scored. Touchdown New Mexico State, guys. So I think this game, like I said, it's opening up right now. In-game total has got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, New Mexico State's been notorious for that. I remember the New Mexico game where the defenses just disappeared, and New Mexico State really got going, and the game opened up. I think when the game opens up, it kind of lends itself for them to score a little bit. I'm not too hot on their coach either. I know he, he's a Vegas guy or whatever, but at the Division I level, I'm not sure how he kind of failed upwards. And even though New Mexico State's not the best program in the world, he's still a D1 coach, and I think they could do better. Again, I don't like talking badly like that, but the proof's in the pudding. It's just there's been no success at any level, at the collegiate level anyway.
Well, no, remember he was the coach of Bishop Gorman, and UNLV were terrible. They were going through coaches. Nobody wanted to coach UNLV. They weren't paying, so he took the job, and they figured, all right, maybe you'll get some of the Bishop Gorman kids to come to UNLV, and they didn't. Right? They went to Arizona. They went to UCLA or whatever. They went mostly of the Mountain West, Pac-12, but other teams, they weren't dumb enough to stay. And as you stated, he gets this job right now because no one wanted it. All right, so we talked. We were talking earlier about the Justin Fields move, and Fields isn't perfect, but I don't understand this move. Listen, we give the benefit of the doubt to Mike Tomlin. It's his football team, but I think this is craziness. So Devontae Adams gets dealt, but also Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills have been getting by, but guys, you see Josh Allen's running for his life, waiting for people to get open. Shakir's out for a week, and suddenly they got problems. They didn't have a legitimate, and you don't need a star guy, but they needed somebody to keep defenses honest a little bit, and that'll help Coleman. That'll help Shakir. It'll help Kincaid. It's going to help everybody else. I like the move, Tommy, for the Buffalo Bills. Doesn't mean I want to lay the points with them against the Titans, but I like the move for the Bills. What do you think about the day in the NFL today with all these trades?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Jets are going to just what I'm seeing from Aaron Rodgers. He can have Jerry Rice show up, and I don't think it's going to make a difference. I just don't like how he was in the pocket. That Jets offensive line that was supposed to be above average, they were getting beat. And, yeah, the refs were calling some pretty flagrant holding calls too. So as far as the Jets, I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference. I was expecting a good pop from them with the coaching change and everything. I didn't see that. Speaking of the Bills, yeah, I would not lay all those points with the Bills. Of course, it's going to help them with the trade, but I think too many points. I think it's up to 8.5 or something like that. Just a little too much for my taste. Over a touchdown in that smells a little fishy to me. I would be leaning on the underdog in that game.
I'll ask you about the Thursday game and let Cam jump in and ask you about any game you watch. Or if you got a game you want to bring up, Tom, in the NFL, we'll hit college. We've got a short segment on the other side here. But the Broncos, the Sean Payton Bowl, Thursday night. I like Spencer Rattler. And I knew when they drafted Spencer Rattler that they liked him enough that they thought that he could be the quarterback of the future. He brings a lot to the table, and it's interesting because people are like, well, he's young and raw. Yeah, so is Bo Nix. I mean, they're both rookie quarterbacks, right? I mean, so Bo Nix has played a couple of more games than Rattler, but think of the comparisons, guys, to Rattler's life and Baker Mayfield's career, right? Same school, a little bit of turmoil. He's at Oklahoma. He goes through some controversy. People bury him, laugh at him. Oh, he's done. Goes to South Carolina, rebuilds his reputation, specifically with NFL teams, ends up getting drafted, and now he's on the football field. We saw in his first game, Tommy, he's got some spark. He's got an electric arm. He can move the ball. He can run around a little bit. And he was and always has been a big-time prospect. It's not like this is he's not talent challenge Spencer Rattler. So, even though it's kind of a bad game, I think it could be a fun game. And I think the total's too light, guys, at 37. I think there's going to end up being points in this game.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the total there too. I think the Saints will move the ball. They did so with Tampa, but that ended up being a shootout. Obviously, I'm still figuring out what Denver's all about. Some games they show up, some games they don't. but I do like Spencer Rattler, and I think they'll be able to move the ball on Denver. As far as Bo Nix goes, when he's challenged a little bit, not hasn't done very well. I think he needs to have an easy time of it, and then you see some good activity from him. But yeah, I like Spencer Rattler, and again, he's got the opportunity now on a pretty decent team. It's not like he's the backup at Carolina. He's with the Saints, a team that could compete. I liked what I saw that first week, and I wouldn't bet against him.
He's got some weapons to work with. Plus, he can turn the ball over as well as a rookie quarterback, which he can compete, which will give him some short fields to work with for Denver.
You're right. And Gabe, that total, you might be onto something. It was over in the first play of the second quarter, Saints and Bucks. Like, it was unbelievable. These guys were just scoring at will early in that game. Tommy, what do you think about Minnesota and Detroit? Line open 2. I see 2.5 for Minnesota, undefeated at home. Hutchinson, huge loss for the Lions, but played a lot better. Kicked the living crap out of Dallas. Probably one of the games of the week. What do you like in this one? Half line movement in favor of the home team.
Yeah, I can't get off of Detroit. I think they're on a mission this year. They're my Super Bowl pick. Losing Hutchinson is going to be bad. All the rumors about Max Crosby going there, whatever. I think they'll adjust. I mean, that's a big loss, obviously, but it happens at this point of the season where they can integrate some other players in there to kind of take that spot and work through their defense. Bad timing that they get to play a really good offense in Minnesota, but I'm still on the Lions here. I like them in this game.
I kind of expect the Lions to, like you said, it's a devastating loss to lose someone as good as Aiden Hutchinson, but I think they're going to sort of rally around him, play for him, so to speak. And the season goes on. Now,
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
As of right now, the sports books have Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers as the co-favorites to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. And, of course, they're going head-to-head on Saturday night, Georgia and Texas. Rick Saratella from the NFL Draft Bible will join us in a couple of minutes. We'll get into that angle. But Tommy Lorenzo in the house with us said he's taking a look at some live dogs this week, specifically the Louisville Cardinal. We got Louisville and Miami. You got Virginia and Clemson in ACC action, as Clemson have been rolling since their season opening loss to the Georgia Bulldogs, but they're laying 21 points to Virginia. So talk to me, Tommy, about what you're looking at this week, college football.
Yeah, a few dogs that I like. I really like Louisville, top 20 passing team. I think they'll give Miami some problems with their passing game. Louisville got stung by SMU a couple weeks back at home. I think they're going to be ready. They're not going to want to, lose. They're really tough at home generally. So having multiple losses at home, I don't think is in the cards for Louisville. They're going to give Miami everything they got. And, Miami, Virginia Tech, Cal, 2 games they maybe should have lost. I think Louisville's better than both of those teams. So I like Louisville at home getting the points here.
Cam Ward has been unbelievable for the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, but he's been single-handedly winning football games for this team. It's got to catch up to them eventually. But if you look at their schedule, guys, it's pretty favorable. So this is one of the big traps for them here, Cam. Any college football games you're looking at, Cam?
Well, I know Tommy was talking off air. I'm interested because when we watched Clemson play earlier, Gabe Klubnik in the first game against Georgia totally shut down. And then when watching them play Wake and all throughout the year, these guys have been on fire, Tommy, but it's a lot of points against Virginia. Let's give Clemson some credit. After that Georgia loss, they've really bounced back. The offense has been amazing, absolutely fluid. And the quarterback that many people mocked, he's actually been playing some damn good football.
He's been playing very well, and I think Clemson will win here. But you've got Virginia's head coach Tony Elliott, whose mentor was Dabo Swinney. He was an assistant at Clemson. He's a Clemson alum. So I don't know if Dabo is going to want to run up the score or anything like that. I know that's always a tricky angle to take, but I'm not just talking about the fact that the coaches have a relationship. They're going to run up the score. I think Virginia's offense can go against Clemson. I think that'll be the difference. Wake Forest actually was very positive in that first quarter. They threw 2 just bad picks. Bachmeier didn't play very well, and the game just fell apart. If Virginia can consistently, get first downs, their QB's starting to run the ball now, which is great. I like seeing that out of him. I think they'll be competitive versus Clemson.
A football game, guys, that's flying under the radar, LSU and Arkansas. Arkansas have been serious moneymakers on this team. I mean, they should have beaten Oklahoma State. They let them off the hook, Dennis Green style. They lost a close one on the road to Auburn. And then they get the big win against Tennessee. Now they're getting 3 points on their home field to LSU. And LSU aren't that good. Let's just call it out for what it is. They're okay. Brian Kelly is one of the most overrated coaches ever, I think. And, they're just sort of, they're a tier 2 team. This is an old school rivalry game, too, that's being played earlier in the year here. It's going to be a fun one. But I think Arkansas guys are very live dogs. And, Tom, before we get you out of here, what do you think of Georgia and Texas and Alabama and Tennessee? Massive week in the SEC this weekend.
Yeah. With Georgia, Texas, I got to take the points. There's some 3.5s out there. I will take it. Not with a lot of confidence. It won't be my biggest bet of the day, but I will take Georgia. Texas just hasn't been tested. And I think, Georgia has already been through a couple wars. So I think they'll be ready for this test against Texas. And if you're going to give me 3.5 points, I will take those. As far as the other big game, Tennessee, I don't know what Tennessee is going to show up. I think Bama will bounce back. I like Bama in this game. It's -3 right now. I think the number's right, but I do lean to Bama in that one.
I hate to, I think you look at Michigan. They're sort of out of a crossroads right now, and I'm a Michigan fan, Tommy. They're at a crossroads right now, coming off their, sort of the second half of the season. The schedule gets tougher. They're going to be going on the road more. They only went on the road once, and they just lost. I liked, Tuttle looked better at quarterback, so the offense did show a little bit of something, and it was a winnable game for them. That Indiana game is going to be dangerous for them, like going on the road. But what about, we got 30 seconds here, what about Michigan, Illinois? Any opinion on that one? Michigan laying 3 on the road.
If Purdue can hammer Illinois for a bunch of points in the second half like that, I think Michigan can do something. I have Michigan by 5. The line is 3. I lean Michigan in this one.
Where can people find you online, Tommy?
At Sportsbook Tom is the Twitter handle. All my stuff's there. Cover the weekend podcast every week.
Hey, Tommy, great to get you on the show. We'll definitely do it again. Thanks, man.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, and it's been a Twisted Tuesday, literally and figuratively, in the National Football League. A couple of blockbuster deals at the wide receiver position went down earlier in the day. We have a lot of stuff to unpack. Rick Saratella steps up and in, the founder of the NFL Draft Bible, allaccessfootball.com, a scout with the Edmonton Elks. Rick, it's always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing, Rick?
Oh, baby, buckle up. A trading, winding, Twizzy Tuesday. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, it really is a crazy start to the week in the National Football League. So the Jets pulled the trigger on the Davante Adams deal just hours after losing to the Buffalo Bills. And I tell you what, that was not a pretty football game, but the Buffalo Bills get a big-time win. And you kind of are what your record says you are. The New York Jets are 2-4 right now. They bring in Davante Adams, and I don't see Davante Adams as some sort of season savior for the New York Jets. What do you think this move does for the New York Jet organization besides make Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers happy?
Right. Well, as the world turns around Aaron Rodgers, they bring in Lazard. He's not exactly a world beater. Mike Williams, they go out and get him. He doesn't exactly pan out to be much of anything. So now, after losing a close game to the Buffalo Bills, let's bring in Davante Adams. I think this deal was in the works. Now he's on the hook now, $36.5 million for 2025 and 2026 each season. So if Rodgers and Davante Adams, I know this is for this year, but now you got two guys that are tying up $60 million for next year. I think it's a bad business decision. We're not going to party like it's 2021. Okay, the Jets are just in disarray. They're searching for answers. They're a desperate team. They put all this energy and effort into a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, changing the scheme, and it all came up for naught. And now they got to kind of rally the troops again, exert all this energy. Man, it's got to be exhausting inside Florham Park facility right now.
And I think, you can say the same thing. At times it can be exhausting, even though it's a beautiful facility in Las Vegas with the Raiders. But if you're the Raiders, you're probably you had a pretty nice lunch today, actually, if you're in your organization. You just got rid of a massive headache and a massive contract. And I can't help but think forward. Let's say Aaron Rodgers gets injured this year, or they're really bad. It ends up to be a complete train wreck. And he says, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to Egypt and I'm going to, pop Molly, on vacation for the next 6 months. He's done. And then the Jets are stuck with Davante Adams and that contract. And then Davante has been pretty clear. He only seems to care about playing with his buddies. It's bizarro world to me. I mean, do you care about winning or like, oh, I want to play with Carr again in New Orleans or I want to play with Aaron Rodgers? You realize both those teams are not winning, right? So I don't know. I don't really understand what Davante's end game is here, to be honest, besides get paid and just sort of be with his buddies. But as you just stated, I think it's great the Raiders got rid of the contract. Now the Jets have the contract, and now they're stuck with the albatross of Aaron Rodgers, too. You talked about all that money they're giving these guys, control of the organization. They're combined like 73 years old, bro.
Yeah, this would have been a great move if it was 5 years ago. And you mentioned the Raiders now.
Even 7 years ago. Yeah, it's not 2016.
Yeah, well, in respect, 2021, Davante Adams had a career high in receptions, I believe, and receiving yards with Aaron Rodgers. That was 4 years ago. It seems like dog years, when your quarterback's 40 years old. But you mentioned the Raiders.
Wouldn't he look pretty good, though? Couldn't he have just stayed with Jordan Love? Just saying.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like, well, Aaron wants out, so I'm going to go too, right? It was just sort of one of these right away. Instead of realizing, you know what, this quarterback's pretty good, actually. And look, these kids are lighting it up right now.
And could have had a legacy. Maybe won a chip with Jordan Love. Who knows?
And he did get screwed. He did get screwed as far as I signed with the Raiders, right? And he was sought after at the time. I'm not going to dispute it. He signed with the Raiders, and then they throw his buddy under the bus that he actually signed with. So I understand his frustration, but it's also a big boy world, bro. You're making a lot of money. At some point, your friend's not here anymore. Get over it, right?
Yeah, listen, I think Davante Adams is really just out for himself right now. He's all about the paycheck. He's content with losing. He did that in Vegas, like you said. I'll go play with the 2-4 Saints. Sign me up. I'll go over there. You mentioned the Raiders. Tom Brady now is a part owner. He's not allowed.
Yeah, nobody thought the Raiders were good before when he signed with them. It was like, wow, I don't know why you're doing this. And like I said, dude, you know why? He built like a $13 million house. He built a dream house. There was no tax. Like, as you stated, I'm not questioning his character. He's a hell of a football player, but it's pretty evident he doesn't care about playing on a winning team, point blank.
Well, different players have different motivations, right? And some people are going to be about the paycheck, and that's just the way it goes. And that's who Davante Adams is, right? And Aaron Rodgers, really, he's about himself. I can't get, once you read the Jordan Rodgers comments about, not coming over for Thanksgiving. Once he got famous, he forgets about his family. Like, that's a little bit of who Aaron Rodgers is. Let's not forget that stuff coming from his own brother, not me. Don't shoot the messenger. So you got two self-centered, egotistical guys taking over Broadway. And like I'm going to be writing on the All Access Football newsletter, Woody Johnson is the man here who has to wake up and look in the mirror, and he can change head coaches all he wants. He can rotate the GMs, the quarterbacks. It's been a revolving door for the past 55 years with Woody Johnson in the last 20. But at the end of the day, it falls on him. And he's the one that has egg on his face because he just really doesn't have any sense of direction, no vision, no game plan, no strategy, no hope to show the fans, and no path or direction. There's no leadership on this team. Aaron Rodgers is your leader, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's a problem. And they've given permission to Hassan Reddick now to seek a trade. So Reddick will not be part of the Jets moving forward.
Enter Drew Rosenhaus into the mayhem. Welcome Drew into the mayhem.
The Jets are a joke, bro. Let's just call it out for what it is. They've always been a joke. They can pretend they're not. They can, paint it a new color green, Rick. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, we repainted. Oh, no, it's different now. No, it's the same house. You just put a new color on this and you pretend that it's not a dump, but it's a dump. And have fun with that. Now, the Buffalo Bills, with all that being stated, the Bills barely survived. Although, you knew it was going to be a tough game, division game. The Jets were a desperate football team, and they do have a good defense. So I'm not saying they don't have good football players on their team. But with that being stated, I give credit to Brandon Beane for recognizing that they needed another weapon. the Bills are sort of getting by, but it's a lot of Josh Allen running for his life, waiting for players to get open. I like Keon Coleman, but he's not an impact player yet. He's going to make a couple of catches. He's going to make a couple of plays for you, but he's not an impact player yet. Shakir, we saw when he was out of the lineup. He's not they needed another weapon. I think it's a nice move getting Amari Cooper. What's your thought on the Bills deal?
Yeah, listen, hey, you got to go out and get the best available players. I heard Jerry Jones interview a few minutes ago saying, hey, where are you going to find players? Well, you got to go and shop around and find what's available on the market. Now, Amari Cooper has his fair share of drops. I find him to be a very good route runner. He knows how to get open, create separation, a very technician type of route runner, in fact. And I think that's what you want as a number one wide receiver for Josh Allen. You don't want Khalil Shakir being your wide receiver one. And the fact that they went out and got Amari Cooper, I don't think it was kind of playing chess with the Jets as so much. I think Shakir might be a little bit more banged up. I know he came back. He's been nursing that ankle injury.
They kind of rushed him back. You can see he was not 100%. We're coming up against the break, Rick, but let me bring it up too. Little bit. What I like about it is there was a lot of buzz, bro, about the Kansas City Chiefs reaching out to bring Cooper in, right? So that's what I like. They kept him away from a potential AFC rival as well, because Cooper was more sought after than the Devontae Adams deal was, just point blank. So I like that move, and we knew Adams was not going to end up with the Chiefs. The Raiders weren't dealing Adams to the Kansas City Chiefs. So we got a lot of stuff to break down on the other side, including Georgia and Texas this week with Rick Sarantella. This is Sports Rage.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. So we just broke down the trades in the National Football League. Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills, Devontae Adams to the New York Jets. But the New York Jets, now 2-4 on the season, are playing on primetime television once again this week. Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh. And there's a lot of talk in Pittsburgh right now about a potential quarterback change. And in fact, Mike Tomlin has gone on record as to state that Russell Wilson will get some first-team reps this week. So will Justin Fields, but clearly there's a consideration to start Russell Wilson this week against the New York Jets, and I personally think that's insanity. Is Justin Fields perfect? No. Does he miss some guys that are open early in the read? Yes, and and it's too late. They're not open anymore. You know who else does that? Russell Wilson. The only difference is Justin Fields is a lot bigger, younger, more athletic, can buy time in the pocket. We can talk about the Jets being a joke, but all kidding aside, their defense is nasty. They have a very good defense. Russell Wilson hasn't played in forever. You're going to drop Russell Wilson on the field when you're 4-2 against the New York Jets when you could win this game and go 5-2? What's your opinion, Rick? What would you do? Would you stick with Justin Fields or would you start Russell Wilson?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Gabe. I mean, you're rolling 4-2, Justin Fields, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then all of a sudden you're going to hand the keys over to somebody else. I just don't understand the logic. I know why Mike Tomlin's doing it. Russell Wilson has won Super Bowls before. He put his neck out on the line, from what I understand, in the offseason and sold his soul to the owner to make sure, that we go out and get Russell Wilson. Lo and behold, little did he know, Justin Fields was still going to be available. So, I get it on paper. Russell Wilson has the more impressive resume. You want to find out what you got. But when you're 4-2 and you start tinkering with the quarterbacks, then you start tinkering with the chemistry, then you can have, like what we've seen in the past, maybe a schism,
Yeah, exactly, Rick. You upset other people. Other guys on the team are like, what the hell's wrong with you? We're 4-2. Right. And then Wilson doesn't play well. Then it upsets people. It splits the room. Dude, and like you said, Fields doesn't turn the ball over. He's not turning the ball over. He extends plays. Yeah, he's going to miss some throws, but the trade-off is he's not throwing interceptions. He's very cautious with the ball, right? I've seen him throw it out of bounds 1 million times this year. I'm eating it. I'm throwing it out of bounds. I don't really know what more this kid can do. And it's not like he's got John Stallworth and Lynn Swann there, a wide receiver either, bro. Let's just be real here. He's got Pickens and he's got Freiermuth.
Well, and right now, I mean, the Steelers are in the driver's seat for a playoff position, right? Like
so why tinker?
They're in the playoffs.
Yeah, why tinker?
Right? And to me, I should probably be careful what I say here, but to me, when you have 2 quarterbacks, I don't care if they're both good. You got no quarterbacks, and you have problems. Even when they're both good on a week-to-week basis, it's a problem. It's a dilemma. It divides people. It divides fans. It divides buildings. You're 4-2. Now listen, the other thing I should say is when you're on the outside, you don't know what's happening on the inside. Maybe Mike Tomlin knows something we don't know. Okay. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But if it was me, I would roll with Justin Fields, the younger, in his prime quarterback, rather than the washed up, older Russell Wilson. That's just me.
Until you start losing and or he gets hurt.
That's right.
Right? And it's, and as you stated, no one, you have 2 sort of guys that, all right, are they the future? Russell's not the future quarterback, but Fields potentially could be. That's the only thing. And they're winning right now. And as we stated, the Jets defense, bro, you're not playing the Carolina Panthers. You know what I mean? If you say, all right, listen, we're playing the Panthers, drop him in here, let's see what he can do here, and then we'll make a decision, and let's just give him a chance. You're playing the New York Jets. The Jets have a very good defense. It's going to be a battle this game. It's not going to be an easy game. Russell Wilson will get killed back there. And in fact, I think Aaron Rodgers might get lit up and might not get up after a TJ Watt meeting, actually, as well. All right, so let's talk about future quarterbacks. Right now, Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. According to the odds makers, Rick, and you're the draft guru, but according to the odds makers right now, they are the top 2 favorites to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. And they're going head-to-head this Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Carolina Panthers probably would have to wind up with the number 1 pick, maybe the Las Vegas Raiders. I know Jacksonville and New England are playing each other. They're both 1-5, but they have Trevor Lawrence just signed a long-term deal. Drake May was just drafted. So I don't know if a quarterback's going number 1 overall. In terms of the first quarterback off the board, I don't think it's either of these guys. In fact, we talked about Jalen Milroe looked like the better quarterback when they played Georgia a couple weeks ago. And we've talked about Cam Ward, who's coming off the bye week, by the way, this week, those Miami Hurricanes. And I think Cam Ward is in contention to be the number 1 quarterback. And quite frankly, Quinn Ewers, I mean, he was rusty. I'm glad he got back for the Red River rivalry and kicked off the rust. But I gotta tell you, Gabe, I mean, I went back and checked this guy out. I mean, you can go back now to his high school resume. This guy has missed at least 2 or 3 games every year due to injury. Going back to high school, his junior year of high school, in fact, where he missed 3 games due to injury. He gets hurt every year. And he's missed at least 2 games each of the last 3 seasons. So for him to be the number 1 overall pick, I'm starting to wonder and question the durability if you really want to invest a first-round pick on Quinn Ewers. So I don't think either Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck is favored to not only be the first pick or the number 1 quarterback off the board at this point. And Shedeur Sanders is still in the running as well. But I do think this has NFL draft ramifications, and more so for Carson Beck, because if you lose to Jalen Milroe and Quinn Ewers, well, then just how good are you? I think NFL personnel might start questioning that.
I think, well, I don't know if it's so much, in my opinion, it's not so much about the final score, but, I mean, listen, if he throws 6 touchdown passes and they lose, right? I think it's how he plays. And, you know, against Alabama, he didn't play well in the first half. He kind of redeemed himself in the second half. But the updated odds right now, Carson Beck plus 600, Quinn Ewers plus 600, Travis Hunter plus 700, Shedeur Sanders 9-1, Cam Ward 10-1, Jalen Milroe 10-1. And here's a player no one's talking about, nationally at least, but speaking of the Texas Longhorns, tackle Kelvin Banks Jr., who's 16-1 right now. He's passed James Pierce to be the number 1 defensive.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Thanks to Rick Saratella for kicking with us on the program. Always great talking football with Rick. And speaking of college football, though, I'm not sure anybody from Louisiana Tech or New Mexico State's going to be in the NFL draft. It's a 17-17 football game right now. In-game total 41.5. It's sort of slowed down a little bit, but overtime is definitely in play here. And there's still a lot of time left. There's still nearly 11 minutes left in this football game. Little under 11 minutes left. 17-17. New Mexico State are moving the ball right now a little bit. It's a little bit sputtered, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took the lead here on this drive. Like I said, I think we got a puncher's chance to still hit the total. Although they just got stopped, so they're punting the ball right now. It's a big game for Louisiana Tech, actually. They're 2-3 on the season. They lose this game, they're 2-4. They're not going to get to 6. They're not going to go bowling, right? So as far as like Louisiana Tech, not everybody can play for the national championship. So if you're Louisiana Tech, it's a big game for you to win, to get to 3-3, and then try to squeeze out another 3 wins to become bowl eligible. So we'll keep our eye on this in a couple of moments that we have here. The Edmonton Oilers were down 2-0 after the first period of play. They've scored the only 2 goals in the second period. We got a 2-2 game right now. Philadelphia are going on the power play. But, Cam, the line is swung once again. The Oilers are currently minus 160 favorites. After closing at minus 185, they're currently minus 160 favorites. The dreaded 2-goal lead comes back to bite once again Philadelphia tonight. I think Edmonton are going to come back and win this game.
They could. Like, that's the whole thing. Philadelphia came out hot. Now I'm looking at Edmonton due to Philadelphia going on the power play, minus 140. That's an incredible line. If you like Edmonton in the game, that's way better than the line that they closed, minus 200, 205. So, yeah, they've been good. Zach Hyman, something happened to him. He went to the locker room. Maybe we'll find out about that. But Philly on the power play. Tomorrow, Gabe, we got that WNBA game, too, which is interesting, and the baseball game at 8 Eastern. Things get real. Nice card.
I'm going to call my shot. I'm going to say the Oilers still win this game by a puck and a half. And you're getting plus 210 right now. All right. I laid a puck and a half, and I got him at plus 125 only. But I get the feeling in the third period this thing's going to fall apart for the Philadelphia Flyers. Edmonton are a desperate team. Their backs are against the wall. They're down 2-0. Clearly, they played much better here in the second period. As I stated, it's plus 210. Minus 1.5. This is where sometimes you got to roll the dice sometimes with the plus money. Yeah, WNBA Finals tomorrow. I've been riding the Minnesota Lynx in every game in this series. Man, it's very, very competitive basketball. The totals, the Lynx don't want to play track meets, right? So the Lynx are sort of more of an under team with a total of 160.5. It really didn't come close in the last game. I think this one will be a little bit more free-flowing, but it's hard not to like the Minnesota Lynx. Now they're getting 3.5 points. The New York Liberty are the public team. It's New York. They've got all the stars on their team. So the public is going to buy into them, but I think the Lynx are live dogs tomorrow, plus 3.5. They're going to win another game in the series. It's only a 5-game series, right? So I think they're going to win at least another game here. I think this series is going to go 5. So I think Minnesota is going to get one of the 2 of them at home. And you're getting plus 135 on the money line if you want here. So I would go Minnesota Lynx plus 3.5. And then you get the Dodgers and Mets tomorrow, Cam. 8:08 first pitch tomorrow night from Citi Field. It's going to be lit. And as Bill Lee once talked about former President George Bush snorting the first baseline, they better watch out for the baselines tomorrow night with Doug Good and Darryl Strawberry in the house. Like, if you tune into the game and there's no chalk on the first and third baselines, we know what happened. And for people who don't know, former President George Bush used to be quite known as quite a partier in his younger days. It's well documented. In fact, he even admitted it in his book and stuff, right? So it's not like innuendo or anything. I'm not crazy enough to slander a former president. George, it's all kidding aside. Yeah, George Bush, though, George Bush Jr., who was the former president there, he used to be an owner of the Texas Rangers. And Bill Lee told a story once. And Bill Lee's a big hippie guy that doesn't agree with anything of Bush's politics or anything like that. And he goes, I'll tell you a story. He goes, I hated him as president, but he goes, I actually partied with him once when he was owner of the Rangers. And he goes, he was just a dumb, cool kid to party with. And he goes, there was no first baseline in the stadium at Texas. And so we said, what happened to the first baseline? And they said, George snorted it. So that's where I got the line from. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.